Now, for the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of drama going on surrounding both the Acolyte series and Skeleton Crew, both of which, by the way, are led by Kathleen Kennedy, Leslie Headland, and John Watts all together. So we know that there's been a lot of problems, happening with things such as, for example, with the Acolyte series going through a lot of different reshoots. John and Dave are preparing to clean different aspects of those shows up as we speak as well, taking up roughly 40% of each show. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of different things happening with the Acolyte show, a lot of different test footage being provided by Kennedy to the Disney higher-ups, to Disney executives, and so far, not so good. There's been a lot of problems with the test footage where Bob Iger and the executives are calling for either reshoots, cancellations, or just erasing some scenes altogether, and kind of just moving forward from there. Now, we do know that the plan for the Acolyte is to make each and every episode a full 60 minutes. Alright, so that's the overall game plan by Disney. They want to make it a full 60 minutes per episode for all 8 of them. And by canceling out some of the scenes, it's obviously going to create more delays, it's going to create more setbacks and stuff around those lines. However, when it all involves one of the very important scenes for the very tail end of the show, we're going to be diving into what Kathleen Kennedy recently provided to Disney when it came to recent test footage and why it's not looking so good right now, alright? So, with that being all put out there, given that Leslie Headland has been really trying to establish a show that shifts away from George Lucas's vision, with the Acolyte show now going through many changes over at Disney since John and Dave are taking over portions of the show, it's noted, however, that test footage for one of the ending scenes provided by Kennedy has been rejected by Disney executives and that they are calling for additional changes again for the shot that involves one of the Sith characters. It's said to be a scene that takes place within the last episode, episode 8 of course, where fans are going to witness the very first time that 2 Sith Lords engage in a lightsaber duel against each other in live action form. One of the characters wielding a new type of lightsaber is said to hold a near similar appearance to actress Jessica Chastain. This mystery character is said to be one of the Sith that are part of a separate tribe from another planet that duels against another Sith character. Now, the context is currently unclear. However, the reason why Disney did not approve of any of this footage was for 2 big reasons. The stunts are described to be very lackluster and not believable in the slightest, and takes away from the spirit of Star Wars. The idea by Leslie Headland was to create a Kill Bill type scene between 2 Sith Lords inspired by the fight between Beatrice Kiddo and Elle Driver. The scene holds some form of comedy relief during the battle as well, which Disney was very unimpressed about, as it took away from the seriousness of the fight. So let me just pause here quickly. The fact that this upcoming lightsaber duel is going to involve comedy relief, I think is a very bad choice to go with. Out of all the Star Wars in live action form, we have never really seen pure comedy relief in a saber duel. Now sure, we've gotten some one-liners by Anakin or Kenobi during their fights and stuff like that, but nothing like pure comedy. Basically the type of comedy that's being thrown into this duel between these 2 Sith Lords is best described to be Marvel-esque humor when they're battling against each other. And this is exactly why the Disney executives feel that it's out of tone, it doesn't really feel like Star Wars, and so they are calling for this entire scene to either be scrapped or completely refaced, and through, of course, doing that by reshoots. So that's the problem right now, is that Leslie Headland has no idea what Star Wars is all about and what Star Wars really is. And so this is not just the end of it all, this is just the beginning of how bad the scene is in particular, is that on top of this, basically the scene that was shot for episode 8 involving these 2 Sith Lords battling against each other, it's very much like more on the cartoony side of things, which is the best way that Bob Iger could describe it. We're going to tap into that in just a second. So, apart from this, Disney is now demanding Kennedy to cut out the comedy relief. However, Kennedy is refusing this and is creating a shakeup and more creative differences between Disney execs and Kennedy herself. The Jessica Chastain-looking character is said to wield an umbrella-type lightsaber, similar to what was seen in Star Wars Visions, as she fights off different tribes of Sith, going up against her with regular single-bladed lightsabers. Now, the action is described to be even more fast-paced than the prequel fights, making it come off as a cartoony-esque fight in the best way that Bob Iger could describe. The test footage, of course, by Leslie Headland is being forced to completely change the scene, or be forced to erase it altogether. So once again, the main takeaway from this, the main thing that makes this so, I guess you could say, horrible, is the fact that there's going to be a lot of comedy between the two Sith Lords fighting in this actual lightsaber duel. Now again, comedy has always been in Star Wars. I'm not complaining about that. What I don't like about this is that we have never seen pure comedy in a saber duel in any of the episodic films or anything like that, not even close. Now sure, like I said, there's some one-liners that, are a little, make you kind of smile, make you kind of laugh or chuckle a little bit here and there between Anakin and Kenobi and stuff like that, but nothing like pure driven comedy. Nothing like that. And so the fact that Leslie Headland feels that you have to throw in humor in a lightsaber duel, it's like Bob Iger. Like how he felt. It takes away the seriousness and the stakes of the battle. This isn't necessarily Marvel. You don't want to Marvelize a saber duel. That's basically what Leslie is trying to do. She's basically trying to Marvelize the saber duels in Star Wars, basically. And so I think that's where, the tone really does shift away from George Lucas. And I think that's what Leslie meant by shifting away from George Lucas's tone. She wants to go more toward the Marvel route, and it doesn't work. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with me on this, but to me, being honest with you guys, comedy does not belong in a saber duel, period, the end. If you want to put it in different aspects, like for example, during a quest or during a ship chase or something like that, that works fine. But in a saber duel, it just doesn't match. But anyways, I digress. Moving on to the next thing here. We know that Leslie Headland is really dealing with a lot of deadlines, and this is another major red flag by Disney, and they realize that a lot of fans would be very unhappy about this if it ever saw the light of day. And this is exactly why Kathleen Kennedy is dealing with endless delays and endless setbacks time and time again with the Acolyte show. But again, this is not saying that Jessica Chastain is in this episode. It's just a Jessica Chastain-looking character, almost a carbon copy of the actress. We're not quite sure who's playing her, or who the Sith Lord's name is, other than the fact that she is associated with a different tribe of Sith. Very interesting stuff. So anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.